No nanny lasted more than 2 weeks in that house. From the outside, Robert King's mansion looked like a palace. Glass walls, marble steps, a fountain that never stopped. But inside, it felt cold. Too quiet for a place with 2 8-year-old girls. Except for the rules. The rules were loud. Rule number 3, John, the head butler, read from a leather folder, no emotional attachment. You are here to work, not to bond. He eyed the new nanny standing in front of him. Her name was Evelyn. Her shoes were worn. Her coat was thin. Her hands shook just a little as she clutched her bag. You understand, Miss Carter? John added, his voice heavy with that rich versus poor judgment only old money can polish so well. Yes, sir, Evelyn said softly. Her voice was calm, but her heart hammered in her chest. Behind the glass railing on the second floor, 2 small faces watched. Sophia and Emma. The infamous twins. That's the new one, Sophia whispered. She'll leave, Emma muttered. They always do. Sophia's eyes darkened. Then we make it happen faster. Maybe then Daddy will stop bringing strangers. You know that feeling when a child sounds older than they should? When hurt sits behind their eyes like a shadow. That was them. Downstairs, the front door opened again. Heavy steps. Expensive cologne. A tall man in a dark suit walked in, phone pressed to his ear. Robert King. Billionaire. Investor. The man who owned half the city, and barely recognized his own daughter's handwriting. No, Michael, I don't care what the board thinks, Robert said into the phone. Close the deal. He hung up only when he noticed Evelyn. So you're the new one, he said, not bothering to offer his hand. His gaze slid over her cheap blouse, her scuffed bag. Listen carefully. My twins are difficult. If you can't handle them, you leave. Quietly. No drama. You will be paid either way. Evelyn swallowed. Children aren't difficult, sir. They're hurting. John's eyes widened. You don't speak like that to a billionaire. For a moment, Robert's jaw tightened. Then he smiled, a cold, business smile. We'll see how long that theory lasts. From upstairs, Emma whispered, he's already betting she'll leave. Sophia nodded. Then we won't disappoint him. A vase shook slightly on their shelf as they pushed a marble with their finger. 1 small marble. 1 polished railing. 1 unlucky moment. Downstairs, as Evelyn followed John into the hallway, the marble rolled, and the tall, crystal vase by the stairs tipped in slow motion. Crash. Glass exploded around Evelyn's feet. She gasped, arms flying up to shield her face. John recoiled. Girls, he shouted. Not again. From the landing, the twins stared down with blank faces. No apology. No fear. Just emptiness. Evelyn looked up at them, heart racing, ears ringing with the sound of breaking glass. And in that split second, instead of anger, she saw something else. Terror. And a hunger she recognized. Because once, she had been the poor kid people called trouble, too. What Evelyn did next would decide everything. Would she walk away like all the others? Or step into the storm no one else had survived? The housekeeper muttered as she swept up the glass. Girls like you don't last here, she told Evelyn. You look at them wrong, and poof, you're gone. Evelyn knelt to help, ignoring the sting where a shard had nicked her palm. Kids break things, she said. It happens. In this house, Miss Carter, John said sharply. Nothing just happens. The twins do it on purpose. The last nanny cried for 2 days. Evelyn glanced up toward the stairs. The twins were gone now. Just a faint echo of their footsteps remained. Light, quick, running away from the scene they'd created. She'd grown up in a tiny, humid apartment with thin walls and loud neighbors. The air always smelled like fried onions and old paint. No marble. No fountains. No crystal vases. But she knew the look of a child who wanted to be hated before they could be left. Later that afternoon, Evelyn stood outside the twins' bedroom door. She heard the low murmur of their voices. She didn't scream, Emma whispered. Maybe she's pretending, Sophia replied. They all pretend at first. Evelyn knocked gently. Girls? Can I come in? Silence. Then the sound of something being shoved under the bed. She opened the door slowly. Their room looked like a princess showroom. Soft pink curtains. A giant window with city views. Dolls lined up in neat rows. Everything expensive, everything perfect. Except the drawings on the wall. Black crayon storms. Houses split in half. Two little stick figures holding hands, always standing far away from a taller figure with a briefcase. Those are beautiful, Evelyn said, stepping closer. She didn't mention the sadness in every crooked line. We didn't ask you to come in, Sophia said flatly. She stood with her arms crossed. Emma hid half behind her, peeking out. I know, Evelyn replied. I just wanted to say thank you. For what? Emma frowned. For the marble, Evelyn said. You gave me a warning on my first day. Not many people get that. The twins stared at her, confused. Most adults yelled. Or lectured. Or ran to Robert. Evelyn didn't. She smiled instead. Not the fake, desperate kind. A small, tired smile, like someone who'd seen worse and survived. Where I grew up, she continued, if you didn't want someone close, you broke things too. Plates. Rules. Trust. Emma's fingers tightened around Sophia's sleeve. Who said we don't want you close? Sophia snapped. Her voice shook just a little. You didn't have to, Evelyn replied gently. I can hear it. For a second, the room went very still. You know those moments where the air feels heavy, like a secret is about to slip out? That was one of them. Then Sophia grabbed a doll and threw it onto the bed. Just do your job, she muttered. We don't need you. Evelyn nodded. Okay. I'll start with story time after dinner. If you want to listen, great. If not, I'll still read. As she headed for the door, Emma's soft voice floated after her. What kind of story? Evelyn paused, her hand on the handle. About a girl from a poor neighborhood, she said, who learned that even the biggest, coldest house can feel like home, if someone decides to stay. That night, as Robert signed papers in his office and the city lights blinked outside, he didn't know his twins were sitting secretly by their door, listening to every word Evelyn read. The next morning, Robert rushed through the foyer, tie half done, Bluetooth in his ear. John, he barked. Where are the girls? The driver is waiting. Michael's already at the office. They're in the breakfast room, sir, John replied. With the nanny. Robert's eyebrows rose. She's still here. Somehow, John said under his breath. In the sunlit breakfast room, Evelyn sat between Sophia and Emma. Pancakes, strawberries, and a smoothie neither girl had touched. Sophia traced patterns in the syrup with her fork. Emma just stared at the window. You know, Evelyn said lightly, where I grew up, breakfast was bread and tea. If we were lucky, jam. If we were really lucky, bread that wasn't stale. That's sad, Emma whispered. Evelyn laughed softly. It was loud, crowded, messy, but it was home. Sophia glanced at her. Did your dad own a company? Evelyn shook her head. My dad owned a bicycle that barely worked. They almost smiled. Almost. Then Robert walked in. The room changed temperature. His eyes moved quickly. Evelyn. The girls. The untouched food. Girls, he said in that clipped tone he used for employees and investors. School. Now. Sophia's jaw tightened. Good morning to you too, she muttered. Robert exhaled sharply. Don't start. He turned to Evelyn. They gave you trouble? Evelyn met his gaze calmly. No more than any other kids who miss their father. His expression hardened. That's not your place to say. There it was. Rich versus poor. Power versus powerlessness. The invisible line drawn right through the room. Emma shrank back. Sophia glared at him. Your job, Robert continued, is to manage them, not analyze them. Evelyn's voice stayed soft. With respect, sir. Sometimes what looks like bad behavior is just a child begging to be seen. For a moment, Robert's mask slipped. Just a moment. You could almost see the tired man under the billionaire. Then his phone buzzed. He stepped away to answer. Yes, John, tell Michael I'll be late. As he spoke, he moved toward the doorway. He didn't notice the reflection in the glass panel beside him. In the reflection, he saw something he almost never saw in real life. His daughters. Leaning into Evelyn. Emma's head rested lightly against Evelyn's arm. Sophia's shoulder brushed hers. It was a tiny, fragile closeness, like a new leaf on a burned tree. Do you think she'll leave? Emma whispered, thinking he was out of earshot. She will, Sophia replied. They all do. Daddy always makes them. Maybe not this one, Emma said quietly. She reads like Mom used to. Robert froze mid-step. Mom. He hadn't heard that word come out of their mouths in months. His throat tightened, but he forced himself to keep walking, keep talking business, keep pretending he hadn't heard. Because if he listened, he'd have to feel. And feeling hurt. He didn't know it yet, but the day was coming when he wouldn't be able to walk away. The day his twins would finally speak to him. And every cruel, careless choice he'd made would come crashing down. 2 weeks. That was the longest any nanny had stayed in years. And somehow, Evelyn reached that invisible deadline without packing a single bag. The house had changed in small ways. The twins laughed more when they thought no one was watching. They listened to stories at night, huddled in blankets on the floor instead of hiding in separate corners. But the bullying hadn't completely disappeared. It just shifted. One afternoon, as rain pattered softly against the windows, John cornered Evelyn in the pantry. These were in your drawer, he said, holding up a small velvet jewelry box. Inside, a pair of diamond earrings glittered coldly. Care to explain? Evelyn's eyes widened. Those aren't mine. Of course they're not, John replied. They belong to Mr. King's late wife. Her heart dropped. She had never even opened that drawer. John, I swear, I didn't. You people always swear, he snapped. Poor, desperate, ready to climb over anyone for a taste of this life. His words stung more than the accusation. Not just because they were cruel, but because he meant them. Sophia stood frozen by the pantry door. She had come for cookies. She found this. You're going to tell Mr. King? Evelyn asked quietly. John didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew. That evening, Robert called everyone to the living room. The fireplace glowed, but his voice was ice. Evelyn, he said, holding the jewelry box between 2 fingers, explain. Sophia and Emma sat on the stairs, half hidden by the railing. I didn't take them, Evelyn said. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. I never touched Mrs. King's things. You expect me to believe that? Robert asked. They were found in your room. In a drawer I never use, she replied. Someone put them there. John cleared his throat. With respect, sir, the staff has been here for years. She's the only new one. Robert's gaze hardened. Poor. New. Replaceable. It was written all over his face. Sophia's nails dug into her palms. She knew what had really happened. Emma did too. Earlier that day, in a burst of anger after hearing Robert yell on the phone, Sophia had taken the earrings from the locked display. She had watched the code enough times, and stuffed them in Evelyn's drawer. If she leaves, Sophia had whispered to Emma, Daddy will have to stay with us again, like last time. Now, watching Evelyn stand alone, her chest ached. Evelyn had read them stories. Held their hands during thunderstorms. sat outside their door on the nights they couldn't sleep. "Evelyn," Robert said, voice flat, "you will be paid for your time here, but you are dismissed. You will leave tonight." Emma's breath hitched. "No," she whispered. Sophia rose halfway to her feet. Her throat burned. Evelyn swallowed hard. "Sir, please. For once, ask them what really happened." Robert glanced briefly toward the stairs, where he knew his daughters were hiding. "I will not drag them into this," he replied. "It's done." Evelyn's eyes glistened, not just with fear, but with grief. Not for the job. For the two little girls about to lose someone else they loved. As she turned toward the door, Sophia felt something snap inside her. If she stayed silent now, she would be the one who broke Evelyn. And this time, she wasn't sure they would survive it. "Stop." The word sliced through the room like lightning. Robert turned. John froze. Evelyn spun around. On the stairs, Sophia stood shaking, Emma clutching her arm. Both girls were pale, but their eyes flashed with a courage nobody had seen before. "Daddy," Sophia said, her voice trembling but loud, "she didn't steal anything." "I did." The room went completely silent. You could hear the rain ticking against the glass. The crackle of the fireplace. Evelyn's sharp inhale. Robert stared. "Sophia, don't play games." "I'm not," she cried. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I took Mom's earrings. I put them in Evelyn's drawer." "Why?" His voice broke on the single word. Sophia choked on her answer. Emma squeezed her hand and stepped forward too. "Because every time a nanny leaves," Emma whispered, "you come home for a few days. You stay." Sophia nodded, sobbing now. "We thought if we were bad enough, if we made them all quit, you'd have to look at us. Talk to us. Not your laptop. Not your phone. Us." Robert's chest tightened. He felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Guilt. Real, crushing guilt. Emma's next words finished him. "We kept breaking people," she said, "because we didn't know how to break your walls." Evelyn pressed a hand over her mouth. John looked away, shame flickering over his features. Robert took a step closer to his daughters. His voice came out hoarse. You did all that just to keep me home?" Sophia nodded. "When you fired the last nanny, you stayed with us for 3 whole nights. You made hot chocolate. You laughed." Emma's lip trembled. "We thought, maybe if everyone hated us, you'd have no one else to run to." Those were the words. The ones that shattered him. Not, "We're sorry." Not, "We love you." But, "We broke them so you would finally see us." Robert's knees almost gave out. Years of late-night deals, of choosing money over moments, of judging every maid and nanny by their paycheck instead of their heart, it all came crashing down in one wave. He turned to Evelyn, eyes wet. "And you stayed even when they attacked you?" Evelyn swallowed hard. "They weren't attacking me, sir. They were asking for help the only way they knew how." For the first time in a long time, Robert did something he wasn't used to doing. He admitted he was wrong. "I'm so sorry," he whispered to his daughters, pulling them into his arms. They clung to him like they were afraid he'd evaporate. "I thought giving you everything meant this." He gestured at the house. "I didn't see that I'd given you nothing that mattered." Sophia sobbed into his chest. "Don't fire her, please. We'll be good. You can yell at us. Ground us. Just don't make her leave too." Robert looked at Evelyn. "Will you stay?" She hesitated. She had every reason to walk out that door and never look back. The bullying. The accusation. The humiliation. But then she saw the twins' faces. The fear. The hope. The tiny spark of trust that had finally appeared. "Yes," she said softly. "On one condition." Robert blinked. "Name it." "You stop treating us like we live in different worlds," she replied. "Rich. Poor staff owner. We all live under the same roof, sir. The girls need to see that. They need to see you listen. Slowly, Robert nodded. You're right. He turned to John. Apologize to her. John swallowed. I'm sorry, Miss Carter. Evelyn gave a small nod. That night, the house didn't feel so cold. The girls fell asleep with their father sitting on the floor by their beds, Evelyn reading one last chapter by the door. For the first time in years, no one was planning their escape. No one was packing a suitcase. No nanny left at the 2-week mark. And the man who had once judged people by their bank accounts now understood something simple, and painful, and true. Sometimes, the richest people are the ones who finally learn how poor they've been with their love. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever pushed someone away, or judged them, before you understood the pain they were carrying? And what would you do differently if you could go back and truly listen to them? Broken hearts, share your thoughts and experiences. Your story might be the one that helps someone else today.